Preparation on the young horse begins with desensitising them to stimulus they're going to come into contact with when you're riding them, handling them, and training them to any sort of discipline. So we begin this sort of process by brushing the horse all over in all of the areas we would expect it to get brushed before putting a saddle on its back. Keeping in mind to always work quietly and sensitively, being aware that the horse has probably never been handled in this way before, and always ensuring your safety by remaining beside the horse's shoulder with one hand on them at all times. If the horse wishes to move around through the initial stages of brushing, that's fine. The majority of accidents with horses become apparent when they can't move or are confined, as they are flight animals that are used to being able to get away from a scary situation. We follow up in the horse that has never been handled around the head by rubbing her or him gently all around the face. This will prepare you for placing the bridle on for the first time and set you up for any sort of handling practices that require you to go near their face, such as worming or dentistry. The following stage involves picking up the horse's leg and making sure they're desensitised to the sort of things they're going to come into contact with when we begin to prepare their feet for any sort of work. This generally involves a farrier, filing the hoof down, or placing shoes on. In the initial stages of training, it is advisable to, every so often, stop what you're doing and let the horse move around and not become locked up in any sort of position in the handling yard. At this point, you can proceed in desensitising the horse to some of the handling procedures used in saddling for the first time. Here, I'm just throwing the saddle blanket up and over the wither of the horse, walking around her, letting her see that there's nothing to fear with the whole practice of putting a blanket on her back. This is the first time this horse has had a saddle on her back, and as you can see, she is taking it quite well. However, again, always be mindful of your safety and stay at the horse's shoulder at all times with one hand on them. Again, moving her, not letting her get locked up in one position and fearful. The girthing process is probably one of the scarier procedures that a horse will undergo for the first time. And as you can see, she's reacted quite well. We only do it up very loosely to start with, firmly enough for the saddle not to slip back, but also not tight enough to overface the horse. And again, we move her around. Just letting her think about the situation. Here I am grabbing the stirrup leather and flapping the stirrup in a motion that may be likely to cause her some distress when mounting eventually happens. And again, everything we do on the near side, we do on the off side. So again, if the horse wishes to move during this stage of training, stillness is not expected of her. And always getting the horse to face up to you after she's moved around, which is her way of accepting your presence and accepting the next thing that you're going to do. As you can see, she acknowledges my presence and she's listening to me with that left ear, always facing up when I take a step back and take the pressure off her. Tightening up the girth now, making it a little more firm. Sometimes the horse's back legs and feet are less accessible and they're more sensitive. As we want to be mindful of safety at all times, a pole with a stuffed glove on the end of it is a resourceful way of getting close to those back legs without placing yourself in the danger zone. In this way, we establish whether the horse will let us touch the back legs, and we can desensitize her from a safe distance. And finally, we reward the horse with a pat on the face. And that is about enough for the first day of handling.